sign on and see a couple of names that I recognize just from different walks of life. So that's always exciting. And I think, you know, rings true of the Love Your Brain community is we all find ways to cross paths eventually. You know, we'll do it initially, and then there's always other opportunities that come up. So I'll dive a little bit into, I'm going to keep it nice and short because I want to make sure we have lots of time to just talk and, you know, share stories with one another. So we'll do a couple of more experiential exercises, and then I'll dive into some of the research, and I'll do my very best to make research as exciting as possible. Personally, I like to geek out on it, but I know that's not everyone's thing. So I'll do my best to make it nice and fun, and we'll play around with it. And yeah, we can definitely go through some questions, and I'll do my very best to answer anything that might pop up. But of course, if I can't, we can always connect over email, and I'll make sure I get you the answers that you're looking for. So yeah, I don't really have much else to share. My background with Love Your Brain, I've been with the organization for about 3 years now, but volunteered prior to that. So in total, I've probably worked with Love Your Brain for about 5 years. And I have had a handful of concussions myself. And it's interesting, for all the time I was working with Love Your Brain, never really identified as having any sort of minor traumatic brain injury. Didn't really dawn on me that some of the things that I struggled with throughout my life. Oh, yeah. I think I'm getting someone's question.
Is there to be a recording?
Oh, your microphone's cutting out a little bit. Maybe if you wouldn't mind typing in the chat what your question is, I can address it there. But yeah, so as I was saying, I've had a handful of concussions myself, or just started to realize the impacts that had later on in life. So I'll talk a little bit about our program, and again, just try to make this nice and casual and fun. So hopefully, it's the year of Zoom. I hope I have this all figured out and can properly share my screen here. All right. Does that look good for everyone? You can just see my screen, not my speaker notes where I have my little cheat sheet. Oh, all right, perfect. So yeah, as Lynn mentioned, I am the manager of our Mindset program, which is our virtual program, as well as all of our community outreach. So we'll do a lot of these types of events, any conferences, those types of things. So to start out, I thought we would do just a really brief meditation. For those of you that may not have experienced a meditation before, it can feel a little bit weird and foreign and just not something that comes naturally. Your mind's going to wander. That's just what the mind does. So, don't stress out about it. We'll do this practice together, and I invite you to find a nice, comfortable seat. You're more than welcome to turn your camera off if that makes you more comfortable, or turn it on if you want to feel, a little bit more connected and have the visual input, whatever makes you most comfortable. And just take a couple moments to shift around, find a nice comfortable seat that you might be able to relax into. You're more than welcome to lay down, whatever is going to bring you the most ease into your body. And we'll be doing a calm meditation. And so I'll talk a little bit about it afterwards. But just keeping in mind this calm feeling, we'll take the next few moments to transition from whatever we were just doing into our time together. So start by sitting in a way that brings steadiness to your body. You might place both feet on the floor. You can find some length in your spine. And if you're comfortable with it, you can go ahead and close your eyes, or just find a soft gaze. You get so much screen time these days, it might be nice to give your eyes a little bit of a break. And taking a nice full breath in and a full breath out. Begin to notice your body breathing in a pace that's just right for you. Feel your chest gently expand and soften in synchrony with your breath. Feeling the pulse of your breath gently moving in and out. Notice your arms, heavy and at ease by your sides. Notice any sensations in your shoulders, elbows, and palms. As best as you can, relax your arms 5% more. Feel your legs, the steady connection of your legs resting on the surface beneath you. Perhaps your seat on the chair or your feet on the floor. Notice how your legs feel from the very top all the way down to your toes. With kind attention, notice the state of your mind. Does it feel focused and at ease, or perhaps distracted and tired? Welcome whatever is most present for you as we all acknowledge where we're starting from today. Take a slow breath in and a slow breath out. Finally, cross your hands over your elbows and give your arms a gentle massage, slowly moving up towards your shoulders. You can slide your hands to rest one on top of the other over your heart. And feel into this carrying place and welcome whatever it may be holding right now. You can feel how each of us is not alone despite the physical distance between us. How we are all here showing up for each other from a place of care. Take a slow breath in and a slow breath out. You can check in with your whole body, mind, and spirit. Feel free to relax your arms back down onto your lap. And just take a moment to check in with yourself. Maybe find one word that describes how you're feeling in this moment right now. And thinking about that word, you can start to blink your eyes open. Take a moment to bring in your surroundings before coming right back to the screen if you would like. We'll take one last big breath together. Nice big inhale. And exhale. Coming back to the screen. Our time here together. And yeah, if anyone would like to share that word that came to them, feel free to put it in the chat. Everyone has different experiences with this meditation. Sometimes you will feel a little bit more calm and more present. Sometimes you really are, stuck on a certain thought or feeling, and that's really present for you. So whatever is, most present is very much welcome in this space. So at Love Your Brain, we always try to start off with, a couple of breaths or some sort of mindfulness practice just to bring our awareness into our body and how we're feeling. I see the chat here, so I want to see how everyone's feeling. So I see loved, centered, present, contentment. So there are, all kinds of different things that come up with this. So you can take a moment to check in with yourself to see what is most present for you. So moving into a little bit more about Love Your Brain and who we are. We were founded by brothers Kevin and Adam Pierce, a little bit after Kevin actually had a near fatal traumatic brain injury. So Kevin's life was chronicled in the HBO documentary called The Crash Reel. So I'm not sure if anyone here has seen it, but it's a really great documentary that chronicles his life both before and after his accident. So at the time, Kevin was training for the 2010 Winter Olympics that were going to be in Vancouver. And he was, on top of his game. He had just beat Shaun White in his last competition, was favorited going in. I don't know if anyone remembers, but Shaun White did really well in Vancouver that year. And so, it was exciting to know that Kevin had beat him in a couple of competitions. And while training for the Olympics, he was about 57-ish days out from the trials and sustained his traumatic brain injury. So at the time, Adam had quit his job and helped Kevin throughout the rehabilitation process. And they noticed that there was this gap between leaving a hospital and getting back out into, the real world. And for Kevin, coming from such an athletic background, it was a difficult transition to figure out how to reincorporate some sort of, athletic or movement, in all honesty, into his life, knowing that there had been so many struggles in the rehabilitation process. And so, as I mentioned, there was this big gap. There wasn't really a sense of community out there. They didn't know where to turn. And so they founded the Love Your Brain Foundation. And as I was saying, Kevin needed to get back into some movement and different things like that. And so yoga and meditation happened to be one of the most beneficial practices for him. So that's where the Love Your Brain yoga program was born. And as of right now, we have paused all of our in-person programs just due to the pandemic, but we are hopeful that those will all be restarting in the fall. So I won't dive too much into that just because it's, not the most relevant right now as we're all still in the virtual space. But I can talk to you a little bit more about the mindset program, which is our virtual program. But again, want to make sure that we fully encapsulate what yoga is and really what it comes down to. It's a mind and body integration. So you might be asking, why yoga? And we didn't want to reinvent the wheel. So there's all kinds of different yoga programs and curriculums out there that help all kinds of different, disorders or diseases or conditions. There's yoga for MS, yoga for Parkinson's, trauma-informed yoga. So there's a bunch of different things out there, but there wasn't anything specific to the TBI community. So that's where we thought that we would be able to develop a curriculum that takes into account some of the symptoms that come up, and we can make adaptations. So we always make sure to keep the head above the heart, for example, to keep off feelings of like dizziness or nausea. And yoga is a holistic practice that really does integrate your mind and body, which the best way to learn more about this is to actually practice it. So to go from mind to body, we're going to do a little bit of a visualization exercise. And if you have any trouble with visualizing, you're more than welcome to keep your eyes open and just look at this picture of the lemon. But otherwise, if you would like, again, feel free, just like how we started the presentation, feel free to shift around a little bit, get comfortable. Take a couple of breaths. It's more of a reminder for me because I'm a fast talker. And from here, you can roll your shoulders back, get nice and comfortable. And if you're comfortable with it, go ahead and close your eyes. Taking a couple breaths to move into your body. And picture yourself standing in a kitchen. It can be your very own kitchen, maybe a dream one. Just taking a moment to picture yourself in that space. And imagine on the counter, you can see a bowl of lemons. You can see the sun reflecting off of the yellow skin. Moving towards that bowl of lemons. Imagine picking one up in your hand. You can imagine how that feels if you were to run your hands over the lemon. You may feel how smooth it is, maybe some of the bumps and irregularities of the skin. From here, bringing the lemon up to your nose, take a nice big inhale, breathing in that lemony scent. And with an exhale, imagine biting into the lemon, just like it's an apple. You can feel the juice running down your hands, maybe out the sides of your mouth, biting right through the skin. Placing the lemon back in the bowl. Take one more nice big breath in. And a big breath out. Again, you can blink your eyes open. Take a second to come back into the space. And just notice how your body might have reacted to that visualization. So for myself, even though I know what's coming and I'm leading the meditation, every single time I still will get like the puckered feeling as though I'm actually biting into a lemon. I sometimes will salivate a little bit more. So just taking a moment to notice how your mind can influence your body. And now moving the opposite way of body to mind. This one will stay awake and eyes open for, but just picture what it feels like, and you can actually embody it, of what it's like to sit with confidence. So for me, I instantly will sit up a little bit straighter. My shoulders push back, my chest pushes out. I can feel that my head, my chin goes up a little bit. If I'm feeling confident, I feel really sturdy. And now imagining what it's like to sit with fear. So I instantly will kind of cower inwards, my shoulders drop. my whole body kind of folds forward as though I'm protecting all my vital organs. So sitting with fear and just taking a moment to think of like how this makes you feel in your body. And moving into anger. So it's a little bit of a combination of the first two for me. So I sit up straighter, my arms instantly want to cross. I can feel that my face feels more tense. And I actually feel like my heart is beating a little bit faster and there's tightness in my chest if I'm thinking of being angry. And we don't want to stay angry forever. And so thinking what it's like to sit with joy. So for this, my shoulders roll back, my arms feel really light. I can't help but smile every time I do this one. And it's always nice if you can catch someone else's, eyes in the screen somewhere. So just thinking how it feels to sit with joy. And if you moved through all of these exercises, you might notice how much different that feels in your mind. When I sit with fear and anger, I can feel more closed off, I don't have as much of an open mind. I feel really like strict and by the books. And then with joy and confidence, it's a little bit lighter and I can feel that in my body. So again, you can see how this plays body to mind. And this is the part where I'll dive a little bit more into the research in yoga and meditation, specifically for the TBI community. So there is a lot of research coming out about the benefits of yoga and meditation in general, but there is a small but growing body of research coming out specifically for the TBI community. And Love Your Brain has contributed to some of these studies as well, and I'm more than happy to talk about those if anyone has any questions. But I'll go through some of the different, like the big picture takeaways that have come out from the studies so far. So there has been a study conducted. It was with 9 veterans with co-occurring mild traumatic brain injury and PTSD, and they participated in a mindfulness-based stress reduction program for about 8 weeks. It was 30 hours of in-class content and about 40 hours of home practice. And using pre and post assessments found that there was an improvement in attention skills by increasing the thickness of the prefrontal cortex. So just right at the very front of your brain here. There's also been an improvement in memory. So this study was 22 individuals with mild TBI and post-concussion syndrome within about 7 months of the initial injury. And again, there was 10 weeks of a mindfulness-based stress reduction program. And then using pre and post assessments show that there was an enhancement in working memory. And so the cool thing with this study is that the changes were viewed in the hippocampus. So if you were to take your hands and put them together, it's about what your brain looks like and almost about the size of it. And if you take away one half, one hand, the very inside is where your hippocampus is. So I always find this really interesting because we're changing structures that are really deep within our brain by just doing yoga and meditation. Our own research at Love Your Brain has shown that there are improvements in self-esteem, as well as enhancement in community integration. There's another study done that showed there was a reduction in mental fatigue by supporting better information processing. So this one is, I believe it was 19 individuals with either a stroke or TBI, and again, participating in a mindfulness-based stress reduction program. And lastly, there has also been studies that show a reduction of stress by shrinking the amygdala, which is our fear and anxiety response center. So again, if we take our little brain mitts together, take away one half, our hippocampus was right here, and the amygdala is located really close to your hippocampus. And in the stress reduction study, it was a 9-month chair-based program for folks with more severe TBI. So there's 10 individuals with severe TBI and then 4 no treatment controls, sorry. And then that's where they were able to see the reduction in stress. And lastly, when we think of yoga, we tend to think of that, slower physical movement, and that has been shown to boost strength, balance, endurance, and flexibility. So that's just a really brief snapshot of some of the research that has been coming out about yoga and meditation specifically for the TBI community. And in the essence of time, want to make sure we have a little bit of time to talk afterwards. So I'll just share one video with you all. And this is a video from one of our participants in New Hampshire, and she'll just be sharing her experience with the Love Your Brain yoga program. So I've adjusted my volume on my end, but just want to do a call out that it might come out a bit louder for you. So if you'd like, you can adjust your volume all the way down and then find the appropriate level for you.
I had 4 major head injuries, actually, and the first one was when I was about 11 or 12 years old. So I've not been sure about what's been going on with my body for a very long time, and it starts just gets more and more painful, and doctors and medicines, and I tried everything. So for you guys to start this kind of a program where it's not just yoga, which is helpful, it's modified, looking at the website and entertaining the idea, could I do this, was so nice to see. The lighting could be adjusted, the music or no music, that it was adaptable. I hadn't had a lot of control over a lot of things in my life, and this idea of yoga seemed to be something where I could gain a little bit of control. I signed up because I was in so much pain, and the depression sets in, and I was stuck on the couch being in pain every day, and I needed to try something. The pain might not get better, I might not be able to fix this, but I can learn other ways to not get so angry at it, or to be a better version of me, live with it and coexist. I sort of laugh at myself now because the idea of your breath, so easy and simple. And it really works. I can track the pain. I can go to an area and try and get my version of centered and breathe to that area. And I notice a difference. In learning to move my body and be in my body, I'm also wading through some darkness and emotions and wreckage that I've caused. And it's not an easy journey, but it sure is worth it. I can never figure out why I survived the accident. I had so much anger, and there's just all this damage, physically and otherwise. And the reason is to help the next person that's on the couch with a horrible headache, and there's no way out. And it feels that way. It feels so trapping. And you've tried every pill and every doctor and everything, and nobody has an answer for you. And you guys had an answer, and it was so simple. Just breathe. Be with us, sit in a room together, and do what you feel you're capable of. There's no way to do this journey alone. So if it has to be hummingbirds and dragonflies, and then it gets to be a dog, maybe a plant, you keep those alive, and then you work forward to repairing and making new human relationships. And that's the scariest part for me, I think, is I've lost a lot of people and a lot of myself, and I don't want to lose anymore. But this community offers me a safe place to try if I want, to be a part of something and to have people understand me for just being me. You meet people at wherever, a lunch or anything, and the first questions are always, what do you do and how are you? I hate those questions because I don't have good answers. But when you walk into a room full of people that know exactly the way you feel and you don't have to say a word, I have answers for those people. And I have hugs and I have time. And I thank you guys so much for giving so much time and of yourselves to give people like me stuck on the couch in pain with no other answer somewhere to show up and feel worthy and important and change things.
I always think Lauren does such a better job than I could ever do explaining the impact of the program. So that's all I have for a formal slide presentation, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions that may have come up, or if there's anything else I can speak to, please just ask away.
That was incredible. What a way to end it, and very heartfelt. And I do have questions because, of course, I geek out on the data too. Everybody knows that. The first thing I would really like to understand more is when you mentioned that the thickness of the brain. So I've never heard that before. So maybe you could kind of explain that a little bit more, and how did they measure it? And is it permanent, or is it something that has to be continuous?
Yeah, I am sorry, I'm just going to go back to that slide just so I can make sure we're speaking about the same thing here, and then that way. Right, so the one where I'm talking about the improvement of attention skills, that one. So it's interesting, this wasn't a study done by Love Your Brain. And so the idea of the increasing of the thickness of the prefrontal cortex has to do with the neurogenesis. And it's a muscle. And so it will likely fade over time if we're not actively practicing the different exercises. So that's why mindfulness-based stress reduction is so interesting, or I find interesting, because it is very much just a meditation practice. So you'll see these results initially, but if you stop doing it, the results may not stick with it. It's no different than, if you're running for a marathon, you may get to the point of a marathon, but if you stop running after that, you're not going to be able to go and do another one. So I don't have tons more information about it. I can definitely send you the link for that specific study. But yeah, it's one of those things that when reading through it, I found it just so interesting, that the increasing the thickness it's again, something I hadn't heard of either before actually seeing this study. But yeah, it speaks a little bit more to just increasing the amount of neurons in that area, which I thought was interesting.
That is very interesting. So yeah, I would, if you could forward any of those research papers, and I'll share them with the group as well too, because that may be something, that everybody kind of wants to dive into. And in kind of relating that to the app, right? And we know that we have vestibular, we know that we have vision, and we know we have migraines, and where the migraines occur is really, really important. So can you speak to how maybe together you could recommend possibly there's a combination of when you do your mindfulness practice, is there something maybe you could advise that folks could track or they could record on the app to kind of understand better? We know that there's different ways to measure vestibular and ocular and things like that, but how can we kind of now integrate this pathway?
That's such a good question. I think the biggest thing when it comes to mindfulness, and you'll have to let me know if I'm not quite answering your question, but I think the biggest thing when it comes to mindfulness is, one, you have to be easy on yourself, because you're going to sit there and your mind's going to wander, and even if you're listening to a guided meditation, at some point you're going to be thinking like, did I bring out the turkey to thaw? And it's so easy to get wrapped up in like, no, I'm supposed to be meditating, I'm supposed to be concentrating on my breath. But in yoga, we always talk about the monkey mind, and the mind will do what the mind does. And that is like go in every possible direction. So I think the biggest thing is to find the type of meditation practice that's going to work for you. So we have really short meditations. There's a 2-minute one. There's longer ones up to 25 minutes. You can do a visualization or a body scan or yoga nidra. And yoga nidra literally translates to yogic sleep. So that's a really long meditation practice, 25-ish minutes. And it actually mimics the same brain waves that you have when you're sleeping. So a lot of times people will do a yoga nidra practice in place of taking a nap, and you'll feel quite rested after it. So I think the biggest thing, if you're going to be tracking these types of programs, is just find what works for you. So if you know that during a visualization that actually is stressing you out a little bit because you're trying so hard to visualize something and it's just not coming to you, that could bring on all types of different types of symptoms. Or it could just create a lot of stress in your body. Aphantasia, or the inability to visualize something, is a really common symptom in traumatic brain injury. So maybe that's just not the right fit for you. But a body scan where you can, tighten a muscle and then relax it, you can actually feel your body letting go, that makes it a little bit easier. So I do think it's important to track how you're feeling when you're doing certain meditations. If certain symptoms come up, you can always look into that. We're more than happy to answer some questions, but there's all kinds of resources on the internet where you can look up to see, why might this one not be sitting as well? Even if it's just like a Reddit thread where other people are sharing why they don't like that type of meditation. So I would say that's the biggest thing, is when it comes to any sort of mindfulness, just find something that works for you. We do have an individual in our community, his name's Brett, and he's one of our mindset facilitators. And he does a lot of mindfulness walks. So he found that just sitting still and doing a guided practice didn't work for him. And so he talks a lot about doing mindfulness walks where he'll just go for a walk in a really beautiful place. He lives in New Zealand, and we'll just take in the different sounds, the different smells, and just be really present as he's walking. So I can actually share, we have a Love Your Brain tip that he wrote about how to get into mindfulness walks. But mindfulness doesn't have to be sitting cross-legged on the floor with a candle and some chanting in the background. Mindfulness can be all kinds of different things. another really brief example is I had a friend who just named a doorway the mindfulness doorway. And so every time she passed through the doorway, that was her reminder to try to just be a little bit more present. And it was just a really small reminder in her day to like, I'm passing through this doorway, I'm going to take a breath, I'm going to check in with my body, and then I'm going to keep going. So it can be all kinds of different things, and you're not going to enjoy all of them, and you may not enjoy any of them. And then that's where you can start to play around with what's going to work for you. So hopefully that answers a little bit of it.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I also kind of wanted to see if you could talk a little bit about, and if anybody has any questions, just pop them in the chat or speak up, unmute yourself. But if you could talk a little bit more about your retreat, because I know it's probably not, happening in person right now, but is it going to come back? And maybe for people who don't know about the retreat, how really amazing it is. The foundation will assist people if they cannot pay for it. So there are like grant opportunities.
Yeah, definitely. And Elliot, I do see your chat, so this is very good timing. So yeah, our retreat programs are currently paused due to the pandemic. I feel like everything in person, anything that we really enjoyed with traveling has been paused for a little bit, but we're hopeful that we'll be able to restart our retreat soon. So just a little bit of insight into those programs. We have 3 different locations. So we have an East Coast, kind of a Midwest-ish area, and then a West Coast location. So California, Colorado, and Maine are the 3 locations where we do have retreat centers. And we just partner with different retreat centers. So it's not like we have a Love Your Brain venue or anything like that. And you can think of the retreat program as a bit of like a yoga intensive course. So to give you a little bit of a snapshot of what the day looks like, you'll start every morning off with a yoga practice. It's about an hour or so long, and then we all have breakfast together. There's 2 days of the 5 days total that we do silent breakfasts, it's really interesting. You'll be in a room with 40 people and no one talks, so it's completely silent, and it's very strange at first, but like really fun to see how everyone reacts. Like you can see if someone really likes food, or you can see someone like spitting food out, and it's just like funny because you're like connecting with all these people in different ways. There's art therapy, music therapy, there's some sort of like a movement activity. So there's hikes or paddle boarding or all kinds of different things just to get out and move a little bit. And then everyone eats dinner together. There's healthy lunches. We actually have a chef that has curated a menu of brain healthy foods. So you get to learn about the nutrition, and she always does a little spiel before you eat of like why she cooked everything, what the benefits are, what it does for your brain. And then, end each evening with some sort of connection. So whether it's the very first night is a sharing circle. So you just get to learn everyone's story and what brings them there. So that's essentially how the retreats look. And then, as Lynn was saying, the retreat program is completely free of charge. The only cost incurred to individuals is the travel. So once you get to the place, everything's looked after from there, but travel is on their own.
That's awesome. So we have 2 really good questions. One, Nora wants to know if you need an instructor for the retreat. So I'll let you answer that one. And the other one is really a good one from Kelly Grant. Are you suggesting yoga mindfulness can allow your brain to rejuvenate as with sleep? Yeah,
so for Nora's question, we do have a Love Your Brain teacher training program. So right now it's an online teacher training. It's a 20-hour like continuing education. It's right now on Zoom for 20 hours, which is a lot of Zoom time over a weekend, but it's definitely something that we've worked in a lot of breaks, and then eventually, hopefully we'll be back in person. So the 20 hours will go through how to adapt yoga for the TBI community. And I can always send Lynn a little email of all these different resources I'm talking about, but we have everything online for how to become a Love Your Brain certified teacher. And then from there, we can look at, how to.
And that's at the loveyourbrain.com website?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And then for Kelly's question, and Nora also mentioned it here. So yoga nidra is a really great way to help your brain rejuvenate. And I'm I'm not sure how much you all know about neuroscience and the neuroscience of sleep, but there are a lot of reasons that scientists can't really pinpoint why we sleep. We know it's super detrimental when we don't sleep, but there's not like a very super clear reason on why we do. There's all kinds of different things, like toxins can get flushed. It helps with memory consolidation and thermal regulation and all of these different things. But as we know, there's a lot of times too that sleep can be really hard to achieve when you have a TBI. And so yoga nidra is a really great way to work on some of those rejuvenating qualities of sleep without actually having to go to sleep. So it's a practice that I suggest you ease into, because as I mentioned, the yoga nidra practices that we have on our website are about 20 to 25 minutes long. So it's a long time to be sitting there and trying to think of something. I think I've fallen asleep in every single yoga nidra practice I've ever done. But it's interesting because as soon as the instructor says, like, you know, you'll start feeling sensations in your body, like you do wake up, even though you're completely passed out before that. And so it's a really interesting way to just, incorporate the good parts of sleep, especially at a time when you may not have, you know, the full 2 hours that you would usually need for sleep or for a nap in the day or anything like that. Yeah, Tanika, I don't know.
And excuse me, I'm sorry for interrupting. I have tried not nidra, but I've done sound baths. If anybody has experimented or tried that, it's amazing. So that's the only experience that I did have with any one of those very deep meditative type practices. And I will assure you, when I came to and woke up out of it, I was like in outer space. I don't know where I was. The sound baths at the end of it was just a little, a local studio where I used to go. It was maybe an add-on of 20 minutes after the end of a nice practice. And holy cow, it was so hypnotic that I woke up thinking I was really like having an out-of-body experience. It was that unbelievable. So I seek those out because it was restorative, but not like I just had a big caffeine bolt. It was restorative in a much different way. So I don't know if anybody does acupuncture and you've had that kind of experience with acupuncture. It's not quite like that for me, but again, everybody is different. So I would I'm all in on trying yoga nidra after that one. There is a question that is, can you try yoga with your program if you've never tried yoga before?
Yes, definitely. We assume little to no experience, but also have very well-trained teachers that can teach to a full spectrum of individuals within the same class. Part of our training program is actually being able to instruct not only a chair yoga class, but a chair yoga class at the same time as a mat-based yoga practice. So our facilitators and trainers are well-trained and well-versed in that. And we definitely ease into the curriculum of yoga. So you could absolutely try it if you have no yoga experience.
I'm going to say about the sound bath thing. It's really, it does take you like totally, I don't want to say it disconnects you from your body. It almost like connects you so down deep into the core. But it is really important to move slowly and get yourself grounded afterwards, because it can be disorienting. So
yeah, that's a good way to explain it. Yes. Agreed. So sound baths hurt your ears. Oh, interesting. Have you had any vestibular work done to Tanika for that?
Yeah, so it'll be like 5 years on August 3rd for me, and there's still certain like pitches and tones that I just cannot tolerate, and for whatever reason it's like the singing bowls and stuff like that. Like there's just certain things that I can't. As far as therapies, I did some vestibular therapy for a while, but you know, there's the whole insurance issue, and then like income and being able to pay for that, and so yeah so kind of not really.
Yeah. The other one I would also suggest, and I understand that, you know, trust me, I get it. Upper cervical chiropractic, because I know that really helped my daughter a lot. with that. And my fiance has the same hearing issue. So he's had a bunch of TBIs, and we're doing men's health our next blog. And so we're really starting to focus on a lot of men. And we're also doing a summer theme about sports, because we've got Wimbledon coming up, we've got the Olympics, and curating with now sports are coming back. But interesting, he has a strange hearing thing too, like what you're talking about. Like if I put the plates together, if I'm putting them away, oh my God, it's like nails on a chalkboard for him. And it wasn't until I could, observe him like I was doing my children, that I'm like, it's your head. It's not that you have earaches or anything, because I mean, he's even had steel through his eye, right, with his injuries. And so, but what is also weird about his most recent one, he can hear a song one time and then he memorizes every word and he never hears it again. And so, I don't know. I've never had, he's also reluctant to get to the doctor as much as I could make my children go. So I wish I had more information to help you, but there's some kind of connection in there. And maybe we can bring in a hearing, physician that can help us, or clinician of some sort.
That would be amazing. I will say, sorry, that I've seen like audiologists, and I've like gone through all of the testing and everything, but there's just something that's going on with where I hit my head, I guess, and how everything has healed, because there's times where I can't hear myself. Like it's really, really hard for me to hear, almost like I'm going deaf. And so like I start speaking louder and I'm like, I can't hear you. But then also I can hear, like, I have, the tinnitus, or I hear like water running through, I have like hypersensitive hearing. So I can hear the water running through the pipes in the walls, or the pressure from the air vent in the car, like just blowing past is bothersome. Wow. Or the windshield wipers going is like excruciating still sometimes.
Wow.
Like, it's crazy. Yeah. So
That's a
there's
hyperacoustic reaction. It's called hyperacoustic reaction. It typically is C1 and the occipital lobes of the skull, and sometimes craniosacral therapy can help with that too. But sometimes a good chiropractor can adjust those lower bones of the head and the C1, and that really takes it out. I still have hyper hearing in this ear. This one's normal. So
yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'll follow up with you, Tanika, because I'm very curious. And I was thinking upper cervical as well too, and cranial sacral. When Natalie had that done, she said she felt like her head was unplugged like a drain, and she could just feel fluid leaving her head. So yeah, I'd like to explore that more with you and see what we can figure out and bring in a guest speaker. Sorry, it's about yoga. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
We kind of go off the rails, Shiloh. I told you this.
No, I'm here for it.
One thing that's pretty interesting, though, is if you get deeper into yoga, there's the layers of energy. And there's certain layers of the energy closer to the body, a little bit further out, a little bit further out. And I think it's the second or third layer is called the ethereal layer. And it's like thus where you are related to space. And lots of times people feel like they are beside themselves, or they're not in alignment. And many times what happens is you get in an accident, particularly a car accident, but anything where something hits you fast, or you hit something fast, the ethereal is knocked away from your physical. And getting the ethereal back in alignment with the physical is part of how yoga works so powerfully. And of course, chiropractic and craniosacral and acupuncture, all that stuff is very helpful and probably is very effective. But sometimes what happens is you can work with energy healers, and those people are really good at bringing the ethereal back in line with the physical.
Wow, I do not know any of that. Yeah, but you know what? We don't know a lot, right? So this is why
Yeah.
we really need the research. So that's one of the important things. And it is about the whole body, the whole person care, and the mind body. So I think we have a hand raise. You can unmute yourself. I'm not sure who that was. But was that you, Shiloh, who did that? No, because you were unmuted. Are there any other questions? I'm going to put those links also in the email to follow up. And I'll post this as soon as we get it onto the dashboard, and I'll connect you with Shiloh as well. And as you know, the drill, if you have questions, go ahead, Eric.
I don't have a question. I just wanted to say that I did do the yoga through Love Your Brain. And I have done their mindset program, and Shiloh is actually my teacher, and it was awesome. So I really feel connected with Love Your Brain. I received a traumatic brain injury on November 7th, 2018. I was in a crash coming home from work. It kind of just changed my life. But Love Your Brain is a part of my my new life, my journey, my resilience, and I love everything they do. And so thank you, Lynn, and thank you, Shiloh, for presenting.
Yeah, thanks so much, Eric. So nice to see you again.
Absolutely. That's great. That's great.
There
Go
is a
ahead,
question.
Cal. You're on mute.
Meditation type or script.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Can you hear me now?
Question.
Okay.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yep.
I would just like to say that a long time ago, I used to use this mindfulness to make myself go to sleep at night. You know, to talk to my body, my hands, my arms being lighter than a feather, and then my legs lighter than a feather. And then I would just go down and relax, talk to myself, talk to my body, and relax my body to go to sleep at night. And it worked very well.
You're a seasoned meditator then. Learned all the tricks. That's amazing.
That's awesome. I even remember when I was in school and I was in sports, this is a long time ago because I'm old, but I had a coach back then, and she would make us on the deck before we started practicing. She would make us meditate, seeing ourselves cross the finish line, you know, doing that a lot. And it really, I guess, so the sports psychology of it. Yeah. So I probably started yoga when I was 18 and dabbled in and out a lot. Thanks, Elliot. He says, hey, so we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
But anyway, but yeah, it's so powerful. And so I think the biggest study, I was looking on your site for the study I was referencing that Mark George was a part of, that I know him, but it was enormous. And it was really examining the monks' brains, because the monks and their meditative properties, and they really are able to alter their heart and breathing rates down to points where, I don't want to say you're clinically dead, but down to such incredible resting states that you reach these levels where your autonomic system just completely quiets the whole way. So, and to Shiloh's point, it's like everything, you know, we have to constantly do this all the time. It's not a one and done. There is no one and done in brain injuries. And so if I can just keep encouraging people, it's a whole process, right? And each person is ever so slightly different. But I do have a theory that once we get enough people into our buckets of injuries, we're going to have a lot less differences among people, and then we'll really be able to start shaping that up. So
so you're going to kind of put people in different ability groups and kind of work specifically with those ability groups?
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
The next thing I wanted to add onto our dashboard were therapies that people tried, because that will be at a high level to see who has done certain things in that same kind of bucket space. So Hannah
Very
is
good.
working on that now.
Wonderful.
Well, are there any other questions? Shiloh, you've stayed almost a half hour past. Okay, that
Oh,
was
no,
from
I'm
Elliot. Any
here
other
for-
questions? Anyone?
I just want to, oh, sorry. I just wanted to say, I took the teacher training in February and it was amazing. Just like the people that have come to do the training, the people that are leading the training. It's just such a great community and you guys are doing amazing work. And I just, yeah, I love you guys. So yeah.
Well, we love you and we're grateful to have you join us for another one.
Yeah, I'm super excited. So super excited. Thank
Oh,
you.
yay. So with that, so folks, reach out to me. Like I said, we're going to be adding more things to the dashboard. And so I want to hear from you what makes it helpful for you to look at the dashboard in terms of your charts and things like that. And so we've got a lot of initiatives planned. So I'm excited, but Danica, I will definitely reach out to you as well. About that hearing, because I want to pursue that a little bit more. Next month, we're going to look at brain health and some supplement work and things like that. And I may do two different webinars. One, which is actually a member of our community here who has found incredible help with some different supplements and speaking from with the doctor as well as himself from his perspective. But a company that is all nutraceuticals, all Chinese herbs and things like that, is looking to do a small clinical trial. And so I think it's time to start bringing those folks to you and see what people want to talk about with these companies and things like that. Because, again, until we get the right research going, we're not going to know what really is going to systematically help everybody. So we may do 2 next month. Let me know what you think about that as well. And whatever else you need, we're here to help.
I also am a certified natural health professional, and I've been working with supplements for the brain for 20 plus years. So, and done a lot of experimentation with many different, I haven't tried cannabis yet, but, and I don't know that I need to, but, that there are certain things for the mood. Chinese, specifically, I do take things for the mood, and I take, of course, some other supplements that really are helpful. But I've been working for a long time with this stuff. So yeah. Now you mentioned something about the dashboard. Is that on the Love Your Brain website, or how do we get to the dashboard?
Oh, no, I'll put it in the chat for you now, and I'll also make sure I put it in the follow-up email. But the dashboard is Power of Patience. It's a free app.
Okay.
And so you can create your account right from our website. So I'll pop it in the chat right now for you.
Well, I got the email, so I must have done it somewhere along the line.
Must have signed up. Well, the webinars are free. So, but yeah, we'd love to have you sign up because you sound very enthusiastic with a lot of this stuff. I think you'd really enjoy it.
Yeah, I probably started it at one time and then didn't follow through, which
you know what? That's okay. We all pause. I look at it more as a pause.
Okay, thanks. That's helpful.
Yeah, it's true. We all need a break, right?
You're a sweetheart.
All right. Well, with that, everybody, can we give Shiloh a big namaste?
Namaste, Shiloh. Thank you very much.
Question: if you could stay,
Yes, thank you.
My keyboard is broken. I can't type.
Okay, yeah, if you have a question, I'm more than happy to answer.
Sure.
Can you stay for a minute?
Yeah, absolutely.
Huh. Okay, so are you the rest of us signing off?
You can stay or sign off. Go ahead.
Okay.
With your question.
Is there particular types and format of meditation and mindfulness for frontal or executive functioning and inhibition in prefrontal cortex?
That's a really good question. So as far as I know, there's not anything that specifically targets certain parts of the brain, but just in general, a lot of just the mindfulness-based stress reduction programs that I was mentioning that the research studies are based on are just general mindfulness practices. So just slowly incorporating that into your daily routine will have whole brain effects, not necessarily affecting just one specific area.
Yeah, but also, I mean, that's exactly true, but it is very helpful for you to, if you can, do a visualization of like a garden growing in the front part of your brain, or beautiful flowers blooming in the front part of your brain, so that you can sort of, as you breathe in the energy to the front part of your brain. And it helps, it will help it relax. And I think I don't know if it's restorative, but it definitely strengthens the connections that are remaining, if that makes sense.
That's actually really, I think that's along that whole meditative, it's a different way of doing it. And that's actually really a very beneficial statement. There's another therapy that I had my daughter do, it's called Brain Core. And I learned about it through the US government when I managed the TBI portal for the soldiers. And it's about reorganizing and correcting the brain waves. So think of it like a boost, and it's all energy. Your brain does the whole thing, and it's pretty amazing what that does. I'll make a note to get somebody from Brain Core in to talk about that, because it's all a part of this whole meditative process and how we can augment it and get it to a healthier space. So yeah, that was a thank you, Nora, for that visualization, I should say.
Yeah. It also is very good for talking the reptile back into the little part of your brain. Go back.
All right. Well, then with that, I'm going to conclude our webinar. And Shiloh, thank you again. It was really, really good. A nice way to start. It's actually a really nice way to stop my Wednesday. Everybody, we're getting over the hump, right? So
Almost there.
Yep. So look for the replay in the email, and then let me know what else you want, but I'm definitely going to reach out to you, Tanika, as well.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me again, Lynn. And if you want, you and I can connect offline, and I can send any resources we mentioned, or if there's anything that stood out, we can definitely.
That's perfect. Yep. And I'll make sure that I put the link that you put, I posted it onto, the Word doc, so we can send that to everybody as well.
Amazing.
All right, well, thanks for having me. Just an email connection group, or is this a Facebook group too, or?
You can link to both of our Facebook groups if you link
to. You do have one.
Yeah. So I'll make sure, Nora, that I'm going to make a note to get you all the info.
Yeah. I have started last year. I started a yoga for working with brain injuries Facebook group, and it's not very far along yet. But that's the goal, is to actually just do specific yoga things to help us reconnect.
Yeah, and again, it's okay to pause. Remember?
Yeah.
All right. Again, last time. Here we go. Thank you, everybody. All right. Have a wonderful Wednesday. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks.